The line was exceptional.
I've had to train to get very, very proficient.
Gold medalist and Paralympic champion representing New Zealand.
You're always adjusting and adapting to conditions, and that's the thing that young players perhaps don't quite realise these days.
You're listening to the Hyundai High Performance Hour.
Yes, good evening. Welcome into the Hyundai High Performance Hour. Just remember our website is hph.co.nz. Go to the website. We've got all of our previous guests this year. You can tune and listen to those interviews, and we can tell you what's coming up in the future weeks as well. So check out the website, hph.co.nz. Well, tonight's guest, really, it's sparked, I guess, by, you might have seen on the news tonight, the Targa Rally is getting underway again. We're going to talk later in the hour with Peter Martin, because this is indeed a New Zealand success story as well, the Targa Rally. So we'll talk with Peter Martin, event organiser, a little bit later in the show. But someone who's very much a part of this event. He's a part of the New Zealand motorsport scene in so many different categories, but also a very successful New Zealand businessman. And this is a successful family business story. And I think it's worth telling that story, as well as the success that Clark Proctor has enjoyed in motorsport. Clark Proctor joins us on the show. Clark, thank you very much for your time on what has been a busy day, of course, with the launch of Targa. How were things out at .com's mansion?
Oh, it was absolutely fabulous, and thank you so much for having me on the show. It was quite humbling to be invited into that gentleman's premises, and it was just an absolutely fantastic setting for all the competitors to be encompassed in that environment, and hopefully it shows the rest of the world a little bit more about the event, and perhaps attract some overseas competitors for future events.
Absolutely, and as I say, we'll talk with Peter later in the hour about the event itself. But for the next little while, Clark, we're keen to talk about your story, and I guess in doing that, we're talking about the Proctor family story, because your company is Metal Man. Of course, recycling has become very much the popular thing, the right thing to do in recent years. But tell us how long your family has had an association with, if not this business specifically, but the business of recycling.
Well, my grandfather originally sort of got involved in the early 1930s. He was one of the first people to export steel out of New Zealand prior to Fletcher's lobbying the government to place an embargo to stop the export of steel so that they could build the still open Otahu steel mill.
So this goes back a long way. I mean, for you, ever since you were a kid, do you have memories? Has the family always been in the business, or were there times when they weren't, when they took a break?
Other than a brief break that my father took out of the industry in the late 70s, the family, either my granddad and my dad or myself, have always been involved in the business. But as a kid growing up in those years after World War II and all the army surplus sales, I mean, as a child, we had crates that we'd open and find, army helmets, for example, and occasionally we'd get told off if we found the ones with the bayonets, but we had DC-3s to play in, and bring gun carriers and tanks and trucks, and it was just amazing, the sort of mock wars and stuff that you used to have as children. It was really awesome.
I mean, everyone has their special family memories, but because there's this commonality to them, I guess, of the business, of the company, and the work that was being done. Must be some pretty cool sort of memories shared, not just with you, but with others in the Proctor family.
Yeah, well, we've always been a pretty committed family to our sort of businesses and our friends in general, and to that end, nothing's really changed. I mean, we are very, very focused on service and personal service, and the old motto that customer's king is, one of the intrinsic values that my granddad sort of taught us over time, that our word's our bond, win, lose or draw, and I live and die by that motto, and it's put us in good stead, right throughout the country, and people sort of know they can trust us.
We're talking with Clark Proctor, who is his company, the family company, is a Metal Man. Clark is the managing director, and it's a family company that goes back a long way. What did you say, Clark? Back to the 40s when it first got underway.
1940s, correct.
And we're also going to talk to Clark about his success, his passion in motorsport. Of course, this in line with the Targa Rally getting underway today. Back in a moment with more from Clark Proctor on the Hyundai High Performance Hour.
Good morning, Auckland! Manukau Toyota are having a boomer sales year, and here's why. There's the 5-star offer covering all the new Toyotas they sell that includes 5 years warranty, servicing, and $500 of free accessories. Also, they've sharpened up the prices of the new Prado and RAV4, and they're selling the new Prius C Hybrid for only $29,000. Come and check out the new TRD Edition Hilux. Now you're talking.
Manukau Toyota, altogether better.
Hi, Paul from Shawmount. Shawmount still have the best range of brackets and prices available in New Zealand. We simply cannot be beaten on the range and the pricing of LED, projector, plasma or LCD mounts. We've got brackets from 19-inch TVs through to 75-inch TVs in stock. Shawmount is a locally owned company. All advice on mounting your LED, plasma and projector is simply a phone call away. Shawmount.co.nz. Shawmount.co.nz. You can be sure if it's Shawmount.
This guy I work with has to take days off to go get his car sorted out. But here I am, at the office taking care of business, and my car's being serviced by Home Tune right now. They'll happily come to your workplace. Home Tune servicing for European cars starts at just $179, so it doesn't cost any extra. It's just way more convenient. Talk about working smarter.
Phone Home Tune, 630-3000. 630-3000.
Sport is proud to present the Breakers in the ANBL.
Three-time Australian Basketball League champions.
So, New Zealand has bloody decided that every sport is on at the same time.
Yep, looks that way.
Okay, so if you don't want to listen to the hockey on the radio or the netball online, the Breakers are hosting the Adelaide 36ers. Thursday night, 7:40, and we've got it live on Auckland 1332 and in Wellington on 1503. The Breakers in the ANBL. It's on Radio Sport. The Hyundai High Performance Hour with Andrew Dewhurst. Proudly brought to you by Hyundai New Zealand.
And our guest on the show tonight is Clark Proctor, and this is in light of the Targa Rally getting underway today. We'll talk with Peter Martin later in the show, organiser of that event. Clark, though, a competitor, a sponsor, heavily involved. We'll talk about his motorsport soon, but also the managing director of Metal Man, which is a family-owned business, has been through many, many years since the 1940s and hugely successful. Clark, you mentioned that it's those family values and in essence the good service, the promise of a handshake, the deal done that you still operate by these days. That's kind of easy to talk about, but I'm sure it's tougher to actually put in place, especially if times are tough. How have you found that you've been able to live up to that creed over the last 20 years or so?
Well, you know, as I was sort of saying, integrity is everything, and one thing my granddad has instilled in me is the old saying that your word is your bond, win, lose or draw. And to that end, we operate with a very, very open book philosophy that we share with our clients, the commercial clients and trade clients that we have, the selling price generally, and we take from that amount our overheads and costs. So they're totally disclosed. And then whatever we discuss with our client is a fair margin, and the balance belongs then to our client. So we just basically model our business on being a service provider, firstly and foremost, and an exporter, secondly. So to that end, all of our customers are also part of that whole process. So at least that way they are part of the export process as well.
Do you think that, or I'm sure you know, have there been occasions that philosophy has seen a customer stand by you when perhaps there might have been more attractive deals elsewhere, that they've decided, no, we're staying with Middleman?
Well, that's exactly the situation that arises and has been evident over the last few years because you know, we've been up against three major corporate clients in the industry, and 2 of them have since gone by the wayside fortuitously in the last sort of few months. It's been such a tough time. They've been using the might of their corporate chequebook to virtually pay prices that are export parity. So they've been doing stuff for nothing or less than nothing in order to maintain their client base. And to that end, the honesty part of the whole process has stood us in very, very good stead.
And where are you based? Are you throughout the country, or is it primarily in the north?
No, we're nationwide. We have 6 branches, Whangarei, 2 in Auckland, Hamilton, Christchurch, 2 in Christchurch, and we're currently just working on some other ones in central Otago. So it is our intention to become a truly nationwide-based company to compete. Sort of a year and a bit ago, I sold half of this company to what is arguably New Zealand's largest privately owned enterprise, and that's the H.W. Richardson Group, bought into the business, and they are from the Allied Concrete, Allied Petroleum fame, if you like. They are very, very strong on family values also, and they model their whole business on the people who they're involved with continue to deal with the client base that they have on a personal level.
Have you, from time to time, have you had to resist advice from perhaps consultants that you've hired? I mean, people that have an involvement in your business where they've said, come on, Clark, for goodness sakes, get real, bump the profit a little, do this, do that, you can't survive like this. Have you had to resist those sorts of overtures?
We certainly have. I mean, the last year has been very, very difficult in business right across, every single sector. I personally don't know of any businesses that are really rocketing ahead in any sector. And, given the financial pressures that we've had to endure with the high inflation rate, with the high New Zealand dollar, and with the sort of very, very volatile commodity prices, it has been a very tumultuous time and virtually impossible to extract any profit out of the job at all. It's, you've just got to think on your feet all the time. I mean, I'm up most nights till 2 or 3 o'clock every morning. I watch the American stock market open every morning at sort of 2:30. That models me on what US currency I'm likely to sell ahead of time, so that I can then sort of work my day to try and buy and sell material to use up that currency to try and stay ahead of the game rather than being reactive. I'm very, very proactive in that area.
What advice would you have for businesses, for people that don't have the history that your company has, that family history that has become ingrained in your business style? What advice would you have for anyone in business that thinks, no, we can't do that, we can't operate like that?
Well, I mean, right at the moment, my advice to everybody, although a lot of people out there may not like to hear what I'm about to say, but my advice to people at the moment would be that cash is king. If you've got something that you're able to sell right now, I'd sell it and sit on the money in the bank. The worst of the financial crisis, in my opinion, is far from over. And why I say that is really, really simple. I sell secondary material that gets mixed in with primary material to make a product. And we are struggling to sell our products internationally because there is an oversupply, because there is a lack of orders right across the whole globe. So if they're not making materials out of metal, and it's mainly driven around the car industry globally, they don't need iron ore, they don't need bauxite, they don't need coking coal, they don't need any of those other commodities, which is why the world is in a very, very bad place right now.
Now, motorsport, of course, a huge passion for you as well, and let's talk about that because obviously we're on Radio Sport, and the success in business, I'm sure, has had an impact on how you've approached your involvement in motorsport. When did you first, and again, is this a family link as well? Does the motorsport link go back beyond you and the family chain?
My granddad was a passionate car guy. He had a lovely collection of Studebaker cars and some motorbikes. And it sort of skipped the generation with my dad. Whilst he enjoyed his cars and had some nice vehicles, he never really got into the motor racing facet of it. I was the first person to get into that, and that was sort of born of being a young guy on demolition sites like the Wellington Gasworks, for example. I was given a 1948 Fordson truck that had been bought brand new by the gas company, and when they shut, they just walked out. So that truck was given to me when I was 13, and I had that 180-acre site there to practice my driving on for a few years before we got our licence. And, I used to go in there with all my mates, and we'd all crank it up and go charging around the site, and we just had an absolute blast. And they were really, really good years.
Good stuff. We're talking with Clark Proctor on the Hyundai High Performance Hour, and we'll explore his success in motorsports in a moment or two. Stay with us. Also, Peter Martin, organiser of the Targa Rally, to come a little bit later in the show.
My family feels better with Health 2000.
For vitamin C, take 1,000 milligrams Nutrilife Ester C plus bioflavonoids. 100 tabs, $39.90. Or buy 2 and save $10 only at Health 2000. Read the label, take as directed.
Looking to renovate for spring? Build that new deck for summer. New barbecue, landscape, or spruce up the garden. Or simply need a helping hand to handle the debts. If you want to get onto doing things around the home, but those bills just won't, don't go away. Talk to Avanti Finance about their tailored financial solution for homeowners called the Freedom Loan. Contact your broker or visit avantifinance.co.nz. Visit avantifinance.co.nz. Normal lending criteria apply.
Counties Toyota for the drive of your life.
Hi, Mark Russell, CEO Counties Toyota. Have you considered Toyota Service Lite? Inquire now for details. Fixed price, only $195 for a petrol vehicle service and $245 for diesel. T's and C's apply. Counties Toyota. We do things different down here.
Counties Toyota for the drive of your life.
Take an innie in Pukekohe.
Mates and Bowls starts in November, all over Auckland.
That's right, so get a team of friends, workmates or family together and enter now.
It's fun and challenging. You don't need any experience. Give it a go in the sun after work.
There's plenty of clubs throughout Auckland to choose from.
Find your nearest participating club at aucklandbowls.co.nz
or phone 6233 555 6233 555.
Mates and Bowls, get amongst it.
The HRV Cup, live 2020 cricket every Friday and Saturday night. Score behind. Check out radiosport.co.nz for the full match schedule. The Hyundai High Performance Hour, proudly brought to you by Hyundai New Zealand.
Clark Proctor, our guest on the show, successful businessman involved in Targa Rally New Zealand, which was launched today out at the .com mansion. You might have seen that on the news tonight, but also very successful in his own right in the world of motorsport. Clark, what was your first experience of motorsport? What was the first car, the first category that you raced?
The first category I raced was motocross, and I sort of started that in the Wellington region with the Boyle family. With Suzuki, the Coleman family from Wanganui, and that then transpired into stock cars when I was 17. I did that for 20 odd seasons, A-grade stock cars, which in the old days was pretty tough go. Sort of probably equivalent to playing first division rugby almost for 20 odd years. You take a lot of hits, and over time there's been many rugby players, including All Blacks, that have had a go in my cars, and their comments are that when they hop out of bed 2 or 3 days later, they're really feeling it, because the bruises come from the inside out instead of the outside in.
So literally the getting knocked around in the car, I mean, has that changed over time? Was it a little bit different 20 years ago?
Well, I mean, the classes, like everything, have evolved, and I mean, the cost of some of these things is very high, and the car's now very high tech, and the prize money hasn't actually risen along the lines of the cost of the cars. So people are a little bit more cautious now, and with some of the health and safety sort of facets of life in general now, I think the Speedway Control Board, etc., have had to be a little bit more mindful about some of the full contact that used to occur. Now, sort of not encouraging it to be quite as aggressive unless it's in a teams racing type situation, but I went from the stock cars into sort of rally cars and started competing in Targa, and that's sort of about 15 odd years ago. And then a couple of years after that, whilst I've maintained the Targa, I got into the New Zealand V8 class, which really was the nucleus or the catalyst for the growth that we have experienced with our business. the car industry is very much associated with creating metal, whether it be an engine reconditioner, a panel beater, an aluminium joinery shop, or an electrician. A tyre shop with its lead wheel weights, plumbers, roofers, steel fixers, steel fabricators, machine shops. I mean, when you think about it, metal is everywhere. It's in every home, every household. A lot of people take it for granted, and we do our best to alert them to the fact that there is some potential value and a saving from landfill if they recycle it.
So were you successful straight away in your motorsport? Were you pretty handy behind the wheel straight away when you got into that stock car all those years ago?
Well, in those days there was sort of more than 100 stock cars in Wellington, for example, and within the first year I had made it from C grade into A grade. It didn't make it any easier. I was never really much of a winner in the stock cars. I was more modelled myself on being a stirrer, being the block car, putting on a show for the crowd, and nothing's really changed with my attitude with that in motorsport. I've never had an expectation of winning. I've always just competed to enjoy it and try and put on a spectacle for the paying public, and a result to me is a bonus, not an expectation. And all of the team behind me that support me and fix my cars and look after me and maintain it, that we all have the same attitude. We're there to have a great time and meet good people and go from there,
What's the stock car racing? What are the secrets? What's the art of driving successfully in stock cars around the speedway tracks of New Zealand?
Well, it's just about being aware of what's around you, sort of obviously knowing who's behind you and catching you, being aware of who's in front of you and potentially waiting for you, being in enough control to understand and know the temperature of your car, how much oil pressure you've got, being able to look across the track when you're exiting one corner, looking 2 corners ahead to see where other people are on the track so you can gauge whether you're gaining or losing. All of that stuff that your brain has to compute at speedway, given that you're normally only doing 10 laps and it's a 4-minute stint, as opposed to the V8s where you're in for 40 or 50 minutes.
Is that something you can learn, or was it instinctive, the ability to look behind, look ahead, and compute all of that information very quickly?
Well, when I was really young, I rode ponies, rode horses, and I think that gives you quite good balance in life. I mean, other than riding a push bike at school, but I had my
Clark, we've lost you on the phone there for a second.
You there?
Yeah, we've got you back.
Okay. Now, in the young days, you go to school on a push bike. So other than riding a push bike, I had my horses. I competed in many, many horse events right across the lower North Island for years and years. And I think that instills into you a mental toughness, a really good sense of balance, and to drive a car and allow the car to move around under you and not be frightened about it and be able to enjoy it and get the best out of it. I credit a lot of that to my horse riding days, surprisingly.
What's the toughest car to have controlled in the various different forms of motorsport you've raced? What's been the toughest class that you've been able to achieve that or tried to achieve that in?
It'd have to be in the Formula 5000 category, the 1970 era of motor racing. They're modelled basically on a Formula 1 type car.
So little open wheeler, yeah?
Open wheeler,
single seater,
100 horsepower. 700 kilograms, 300 kilometres an hour. These things are historic cars that are, coming up to 50 years old, and they're the fastest things other than a Formula 1 car on the planet. They're amazingly difficult to drive, physically challenging, and you really got to have your wits about you when you're in one of those things, because your life really is in your hands. But hugely satisfying when you've completed a race. Even a practice session is just amazing in one of those cars.
So, I mean, if your life is literally in your own hands and these things are little pocket rockets and you're so close to the ground, what about fear? And I'm sure that's been the case in other forms of racing as well, but how have you dealt with fear in your motorsport career?
I never consider what might happen or what if. I've always gone through life believing that to a point, you make your own luck in life, you make your own way. If you have a positive attitude and, to a probably 90% extent, you are in control of putting yourself in a position to potentially put yourself in danger. And in a car like that, you just simply, I wouldn't. I just simply wouldn't put myself in a position where I thought something may be able to happen.
So is there a strong element of trust in the other drivers as well? Because you can only control yourself and your car, but you're surrounded by others.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the 5000s, Steve Ross and Kenny Smith, they've been around for a long time, and they're the benchmarks in that particular class, as is young Michael Lyons from England. And, when you're racing with those guys, once you sort of get their confidence, they will allow you to race wheel to wheel without worrying too much about anybody touching. So,
and would I be right in guessing that if you did have someone who was a little bit footloose out on the circuit in one of these cars, indeed in any form of motorsport, do they pretty quickly get told or reminded of what they're doing wrong by their fellow drivers?
Yeah, they sure do. I mean, it's unfortunately we have had a fatality in the last season or so in our class, and nobody needs reminding, just potentially how dangerous these cars can actually be. I mean, in the 70s. Virtually every Grand Prix, somebody would be killed in these cars, and arguably now they're going faster now with some of the modern technology in them than what they were in the day. Yes, the circuits are safer now than they were in the day, and that sort of negates quite a lot of the potential risk that did exist. So that's actually a good thing. And of course, with all the modern day safety apparatus and stuff that one wears, that too has negated some of the risk, but. Great fun and a great spectacle, and they're loved world over, those particular cars.
Clark Proctor is our guest on the Hyundai High Performance, our New Zealand motorsport competitor in so many different classes, and of course his very successful family business, Metal Man, keeps him busy during the day and until 2:30 most mornings as well. Clark, in terms of the Targa, we're going to talk with Peter very shortly about the Targa. This in itself has become such a wonderful New Zealand success story. What is it about the Targa and that makes it so appealing to drivers like yourself, indeed drivers from all different walks of life?
Well, I mean, simply put, it is the best value for money, dollar per kilometre event that anybody could do anywhere in the world. And, I'm sure most people can relate to the fact that we're all nowadays not expected to lose traction on the road, make any noise, not allowed to speed, not allowed to overtake and all that sort of stuff. That's all PC these days, and understandably so, because there's so many vehicles now on the road than what they were in the 70s or 80s. So this event, remarkably, is very well supported even by the New Zealand Police, and having the police effectively close off a road for you and wave you into the stage and pat you on the back and say, "Go boy," is unbelievable. It's you against the road. And I describe driving the Targa as basically driving a taxi with a police car chasing you. It's a fantastic adrenaline rush. You're totally in control of how fast you want to go, you and your co-driver. It's just absolutely superb. It's something that every young driver should at least have a go in. Some of the older drivers who have the more later model European or larger vehicles, big or small, they should consider the Nava Tour. It's just a great fun week for people just to do the tour, and they go at about 75% of the race speed that the main event's allowed to do. It's just a way of enjoying your motor vehicle and seeing some lovely parts of New Zealand, because we do some fantastic roads that are sort of all Class 2 stuff, and some of the places you visit and the people you meet is just very, very hard to replicate anywhere.
Yeah, and I guess people, as I said, from all walks of life, you must meet some amazing people that are on this event for all different reasons.
Yeah, well, we've all got the same mindset. We're all here to enjoy it. We're all just rally around and help each other out, whether it be repairing a car that needs fixing, or running people around, or dropping into hotels, or helping them fix damage. Everybody is just like one big happy family, because at the end of the day, we're racing the clock. We're not racing each other, and that's probably a good thing, because there's no panel banging damage for people to get upset against each other about. So to that end, it removes that facet that circuit racing and speedway still have.
And I imagine that all of that experience in organised motorsport events, even the Targa that just makes you a better driver on the open road, does it? And it's probably not a bad idea for, as I think you've alluded to already, for all young drivers, as in motorsport drivers, to get involved in this sort of thing. It's going to help them in their day-to-day stuff as well.
Oh, look, I mean, the car clubs these days are very, very active, and people and companies like ourselves, we sort of like to help the car clubs out as much as we can and foster young people to get them off the road and out of the streets and onto a track somewhere where they can express themselves and challenge themselves to be better drivers. And hopefully that makes them, a better human being all round, and they too can go on to enjoy having great fun with motorsport.
Good stuff, Clark. Really appreciate your time. Well done on that family business. Great success story here in New Zealand, and keep enjoying your racing and your involvement in motorsport.
Well, that's really cool, and just a bit of a plug for the company. We are looking to expand, so if there's any listeners out there that are considering a franchise with either our Middleman or Scrapman brand, don't hesitate to give us a call.
Here we go. Clark Proctor with us on the Hyundai High Performance Hour. When we come back, we will talk with Peter Martin and have a chat about the Targa, find out where it goes, what the detail is around it. It was launched today at none other than the .com Mansion. I kid you not.
Archibald and Shorter driving style.
The best wagon for you is the best looking wagon on the market. The new Jaguar XF Sport Brake from Archibald and Shorter Roverland. The perfect balance of beauty and load space versatility in one stylish wagon. Wherever the road takes you, the new Jaguar XF Sport Brake is as full of life as you are. Available from $95,000.
Archibald and Shorter driving style.
Green Lane and Glenfield.
Hi, Paul from Shawmount. Shawmount still have the best range of brackets and prices available in New Zealand. We simply cannot be beaten on the range and the pricing of LED, projector, plasma or LCD mounts. We've got brackets from 19-inch TVs through to 75-inch TVs in stock. Shawmount is a locally owned company. All advice on mounting your LED, plasma and projector is simply a phone call away. Shawmount.co.nz. Shawmount.co.nz. You can be sure if it's Shawmount.
Trade Me Property has over 100,000 visitors a day. So there's bound to be someone who falls for your metropolitan nook in a colourful part of town. So make sure your realtor has your listing on Trade Me Property, the best place to sell your place.
At State, we're always on hand to help with the unexpected. So when 54,133 of our customers had their car windows damaged in the last year, we got them back on the road in no time. To buy car insurance now, go to state.co.nz.
Only one thing to do now. Beat up on someone smaller than you to make yourself feel better. Radio Sport presents the Silver Ferns against the Malawi Queens. Thursday night, 7:40, coming to you from Hamilton.
Oh, yeah, and give them the old 1-2, huh?
Streaming live on radiosport.co.nz and the Sport Extra stream on your iHeartRadio app.
Sweet, sweet victory.
We'll feel better in no time.
God save the Queens, because they are in big trouble.
The Hyundai High Performance Hour with Andrew Dewhurst. Proudly brought to you by Hyundai New Zealand.
14 minutes away from 10 o'clock. After 10, we'll open the lines, take your calls. You may want to talk after 10 about the news tonight if you haven't caught up with it, but Deeks has retired. So the Night Watchman's been catching up on that news, and you might wish to comment on that. So we'll open the lines up after 10, have a bit of fun with some of our topics in our list. But Deeks has retired, called it a day. So no more yours on Radio Sport. But might wish to reflect on Murray Deeker's time in sports radio and broadcasting. The Targa, though, got underway today with the, a ceremonial start, I imagine, out at the .com Mansion. The organiser is Peter Martin, joins us now. Hi, Peter, how are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Yourself?
Very good indeed. How did you pull off that sort of a coup? .com, he's not shy of a bit of publicity, but I imagine it helped you guys out a little bit too.
Oh, absolutely. Look, it's a long story, but a short story. It started about 3 years ago when one of our new competition sponsors, Tony Lentino from Instra Corporation, suggested we have an event that included his wonderful property up there in Hawkworth. He's got an airport and a runway. And after that, he said, hey, Peter, we've really got to lift this profile. He says, why don't we go somewhere high profile? I'll ring my mate Kim. And he introduced me to Kim.com, and one thing led to another. And, of course, there's been a few incidents with him over the last year or two that sort of put heed to our endeavours to start there. But that's sort of all come good now, and the opportunity this year was there. So we took it with both ends.
Good stuff. Now, the Targa. It's a different name. Some people will have heard it many, many times and still be wondering, what does it mean? What is a Targa rally?
Okay, well, Targa, unlike a lot of people think, which is an acronym, Targa is actually Italian for plate. And the origins of the Targa New Zealand Rally started from Targa Florio in 1907 and ran through Sicily to the 1970s. And then in 1993, Targa Tasmania in Australia was born, and 2 years later, Targa New Zealand was formed from that. So this year's our 19th year, and it is an all-tarmac-only rally. So unlike traditional gravel rallies, Targa is all on tarmac surfaces only.
And is it a bona fide event in the sense that we know about Rally New Zealand, we know about different rally events that we see that are truly sporting, if I can use that term. Is Targa up on that level, or is it a little more social?
It's a bit of both, actually, and it's definitely up on that level. We've got people from all around the world competing in this event. It is a recognised sanctioned series by New Zealand's motorsport governing body, and there is 3 different competitions within the event, one for the four-wheel drives, one for modern two-wheel drives, and the other for the classic two-wheel drives. So there's a section for all cars. We have an eclectic group of cars and people spanning from the 1960s right through to the modern supercars, the GTRs of the modern car today, which is our sort of current hero, and 4 times champion Tony Quinn has been campaigning in one of those since 2008. So the answer, yes, it's definitely a bona fide motorsport event, but it's all tarmac. So we tend to get a far more wider variety of wonderful sports cars participating, your BMWs, your Audis, your Porsches, not just your sort of more traditional Japanese four-wheel drives. So in that respect, it's far more appealing and wider, versatile audience that participates in it.
And the event, how long, Peter, and where do you go? Give us some of the detail.
So this year is our 19th year, and we've changed the format up a little bit. We've started today as the ceremonial start and gather up, which is called Prologue Documentation Day. Tomorrow, the serious event part of it starts 7 o'clock from the .com mansion, and day one is a long day. We leave 7 o'clock in the morning and head all the way down the west coast of New Zealand to finish in New Plymouth at about 6 o'clock tomorrow night. On Friday, we leave New Plymouth and travel across inland and down to Palmerston North. Saturday morning we leave there and travel again towards the east coast and up through Waipukurau to Havelock North. And then on Sunday morning we leave there and travel across the Gentle Annies to Taihape and then up to finish at the racetrack in Taupo on Sunday afternoon. All in all, 650 kilometres of special stage and just under 2,000 kilometres of touring stage. So the largest, longest rally in New Zealand.
We're talking with Peter Martin, organiser of Targa New Zealand. So what are some of the more unusual vehicles? I imagine there are some classic cars, are there, in every sense of the word, that are out there and being perhaps nursed around the 600k of special stages a little more than some of the other vehicles.
Well, that's right. I mean, but as I said before, you get a wide variety of people and cars, and I suppose the oldest vehicle in the field that's probably the most well-known is the 1964 Fiat Abarth Corsair 1000, campaigned by Mike Lowe and Phil Sutton, who have participated in every Targa event since inception in 1995. So that car is an amazing enigma. It's sponsored by NZ, and they've been loyal supporters of that car for those last 19 years. This year, it's not to be outdone by also 1964 Ford Falcon XM Coupe, owned by an Australian couple who are over to participate in the event for the first time with the intent of bringing 17 of their friends next year. And then they go right through to your Escorts, your Renault Alpine A110s, through to your BMW, your E30 class, E36s, the new 135s, they're quite popular, your Porsche GT3s, your Ferraris, your Maseratis, your Lamborghinis, your Nissan GTR 35s, your Subaru Imprezas, Mitsubishi Evos, Holden Commodores, Ford Falcons, Mustangs. I mean, the list goes on and on. We've got over 130 participants in this year's event. So
fantastic.
There's a wonderful array of cars that people just love seeing.
Fantastic. So the website, Peter, for people to follow, literally just targa.co.nz?
Absolutely, yeah. We've just released a brand new website. It went live only 3 weeks ago, and we launched that website in anticipation of the publicity around the .com mention that would generate, and live streaming videos throughout the day, live results, everything's available on our website. Great place to go and have a look and find out a whole lot more about the event.
Good stuff. Good luck, and we'll be hearing from, if not you, Peter, then others from the Targa on Sport Lately over the next few days. Peter Martin with us, targa.co.nz for the website. It's a great website. Looks fantastic.
Venlery Blind Services.
Hi, Joe from Venlery Blind Services. We're taking 30% off our entire range, custom made to measure. That's 30% off Venetians and rollers, off woodens and creation wood blinds. 30% off the lot with a free measuring quote. Call 0800 999 229 or visit vlr.co.nz.
Venlery Blind Services. If it doesn't say service, it's not.
They're the unthanked heroes of the yard, the working warriors of the warehouse, and when they fail, you really feel it. So when it comes time to replace your forklift or fleet, don't settle for anything less than Hangchar. While other forklifts have plastic to break and computers to go wrong, Hangchar make it simple, steel and very little else. So get behind the wheel of some Hangchar steel. Hangchar from Northern Forklifts. For a very competitive price to buy or lease, phone 0800 426 4242.
Small. Introducing Michaelia Fiona, now at our nursery. From the Magnolia family, these are stunning evergreen trees, almost 2 metres tall, full of buds and flowers, and only $65 each. Michaelia Fiona has sweetly scented white flowers which last for many weeks, ideal for screening.
Our nursery, 11 minutes from the end of the Northwestern Motorway, and take the Muriwai turn-off to Taha Road.
Our nursery, big fun at
small prices, 8 days a week.
Action Direct Physiotherapy told me they'd have me back on my feet in no time. Explain everything so I knew what was going on along the way. They're pretty hands-on. They call it manual therapy. So I says, I'll be back scoring goals for the soccer team in no time, eh? Yep, they reply. Good, because I don't score any now, being a goalie and all. They even laughed at my joke.
Action Direct Physiotherapy at actiondirect.co.nz.
The Hyundai High Performance Hour. Proudly brought to you by Hyundai New Zealand.
Yeah, check out the website, hph.co.nz, for all details about the Hyundai High Performance Hour. But also check out Hyundai. They've got this wonderful project, Family Time, at the moment, and that says so much about the company and about the values that they have, Hyundai. So check them out, hyundai.co.nz. That's aside from the wonderful vehicles, of course. Lucky enough at the moment to be enjoying the brand new Santa Fe, and boy, is it stunning, and it turns heads. Really, really does. Going to take a little drive down to Rotorua over the weekend, and I'm sure the same will occur all the way down to Rotorua from Auckland. 3 minutes away from 10 o'clock. That is our Hyundai High Performance Hour for this week. My thanks to Clark Proctor, our guest on the show, and also Peter Martin for joining us to talk about Targa. We'll be back after 10. Myself and the night watchman, Jason Ryan. Deeks is retired. He's going to finish up at the end of the year on the radio. I think he might be done on the telly now. But Jason Ryan will have those details. But Deeks is finished up. He's going to pull the pin at the end of the year. Man, there's some experience in broadcasting going. Telfer and Deeka off Radio Sport and ZB at the end of the year. Wow, that's the end of an era. 3 minutes away from 10 o'clock. We'll get into a few calls after 10. You might want to reminisce about Deeks. You might want to reminisce, but we're going to carry on with the People's Champion 11. We've got a few nominations already. There's a load more come through on text. Also, Super Rugby squads are out. Highlanders. Is your team pants, or do you want to defend them? Got no superstars. You got Ben Smith, Aaron Smith. Just a couple of Smiths. Blues look flash. Chiefs look good. Crusaders, always. Hurricanes, somewhere in the middle. Super Rugby squads are out. And cricket. What, resting Taylor and McCullum? Because we've got to have them ready for the West Indies. Excuse me, we lose to Bangladesh. We can't rest our players against anyone, for goodness sakes.